It was Texas, it was Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Texas to Tennessee podcast. Um, I'm Chris, Soule Gravy on all the socials and stuff. We are Steveless again tonight, so we're not going to be able to keep the ducks in line without Steve around. So all hell may break loose. Sorry, Matt. uh, so
That's
uh,
all right.
Tonight on the podcast, we got Mr. Matt Mason. I appreciate you taking the time to hop on, man.
Man, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you for a little bit.
hmm I've been we talked about it a little bit before you got started. I've been you were telling a story about some folks that knew your music but didn't know who you were, or hadn't
Yes.
really ever seen you, and um, I was I can relate. I've been listening to your music a long time and I never had the opportunity to see you live or anything like that. So, like I said, I'm glad to see that you're out there. We'll get into all this stuff, but I'm glad to see you're out there. You're touring and life
Yep.
seems to be good these days. So,
It's
um,
great these days, man.
man, it's always, especially if you're in the music business, it's always good.
It
It's always great to hear and to see. So.
absolutely. It's tough business, but it is my business.
Man, you have kind of a unique story compared to a lot of folks that we talk to. Like I said, we'll dive into all those different things. But just to start with, if somebody were to ask who the hell is Matt Mason, give me a little rundown and where you're from and all that stuff.
Man, I'm from Indiana originally, born and raised, and moved to Nashville at right after high school. Actually, came down, did the Broadway scene for a lot of years, and played down there and learned a lot about stage presence and performing and playing and all of that. Always dreamed of coming here. We used to come down here when I was young to go to the Opry. My dad was a big George Jones and Merle Haggard fan, so we brought my grandma down a couple different times to watch both those guys play at the Ryman.
Mm,
And I just had this want to, man. I started playing guitar a little bit in the church we grew up in, and um, I don't know, man. It was something that was in me that it was like I look back now and I think it's like people are called into ministry. I think a lot of preachers say that, and if
okay.
I think if that's a real thing, and I believe that it is,
Right.
I believe I was kind of called into this. I've tried to get away from it a couple times, and I get pulled right back into it. It's in me. It's just, but started writing when I was, 14, 15, and kind of honed that craft as I came down to here. Got a couple show opportunities and have done the record label thing, tried that out for a couple years, and now independent singer songwriter, and enjoy this side of it a lot more than the other side of it.
Un-
So
Understand.
that's kind of a nutshell version, I guess.
Understand. That's the point of asking that question, and then we can go from there. So are you still in the Nashville area?
We are, man.
These days? Okay,
We're south of. We're about
gotcha.
30 miles south of. We're actually building a house right now um, that I've been building, and I'm not a builder. I'm not a contractor. But I told my wife, I'm like, look, our forefathers have done it, so how hard can it be? And 4.5 years later, we're almost done. But
Turns
I've done
out it's
everything on it, man. It's harder than I thought, but
well.
we've
To be
done
fair, our
everything
forefathers
ourselves.
didn't have indoor plumbing either, so
They didn't, and they didn't have electricity and
right.
building inspectors and all of that stuff. So it's been an interesting project, but glad to do it and glad to like when once we get in, it'll be a nice feeling to be like, man, I can tell my grandkids someday like I built this place. So
Completely understand. Yeah, that's cool. Imagine that as a test of patience like no other.
Dude, it's
Doing
a
that
test of
yourself.
everything. It's a test of all the emotions. Like I told my wife, I'm like, there's days I come in to work on the house and I walk around and like want to cry because I'm like, what the frick have I got myself into? And then other days, I just everything comes together. It's smooth, and I'm like, I should probably be a contractor. Like I'm really good at doing this. But those days are further and fewer between than the other ones.
I understand. I work in. I'm an electrician and heating and air guy by trade, so completely understand those days.
That is the one
Uh,
thing, heating and air, man. That's the one thing I paid to have done. I wasn't about
you
to
want
tackle that.
you want to make sure it was right. I understand. Um, well, and that's one of the things after you sink the money into, you want it to work properly too, because that's a yeah.
100%. I want my house to be cool when I want it cool, and I want it hot when I want it hot. You know, it's a first world problem, but it's a problem we all have here.
I understand. Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if you had made it, if you went back to Indiana, or if you were still in Tennessee. Um, but so it's, I mean, you were when you say you kind of had that in you from the beginning, and you moved to Nashville, you were already writing songs and kind of had that being an artist in mind. You weren't you. I'm sure you did all the cover stuff, but that wasn't
Yes.
priority number one.
No, I mean, I didn't want to be a cover guy forever,
Mhm.
but was smart enough too, to know that when I moved, especially when I moved to town, and even before I did, I was playing shows, but like you got to play what you want people to pay attention, you know?
Mhm.
And if you're, I mean, if all you're doing is your own songs and nobody knows who you are, you're going to lose a crowd. So I would do way more covers at the time than, and especially on Broadway, like that's cover song country, and that's how you make
Right.
your money.
Right.
People tip for songs and you play them. Um, but again, I mean, you can hone your craft too as a writer. You figure out what you sing best when you do that. I think that's something every artist should do. Like learn a bunch of covers, go out and play them.
Hmm.
You kind of hone your like I don't know what you'd call it, but like who you are as an artist. You figure that out and you go, these songs fit me best. So then you kind of start gravitating your writing style towards one direction or the other. Um, I think it's important to
I,
go through that process.
well, and I imagine stage time in general is you probably just you can't beat that experience as well.
No, and like when I came, I mean, before I moved here, like I'd play little festivals and fairs and wherever I get my foot in the door. Um, and when I came here, I was doing 8-hour shifts. I was doing
Hmm.
2 4-hour shifts a day. Um, so I'd play a club 4 hours and then either go to another one or sometimes go to the back room of that club and play another 4 hours. So you learn to do that and you learn how to sing, like you learn how to use your diaphragm rather than your throat to sing, and you don't wear yourself out. And it's it's like anything else, you exercise those muscles and you learn how to use them. And I've had to hone them back up because I've been off the road for so long, but it's like riding a bike, when you have the practice and the know-how, you kind of get back into it a little easier than if you have never had to do that.
I'm just curious because how long ago are we talking about when you went to Nashville? It was like like 15, 16 years, something like that.
No, it was I moved to Nashville 20 years ago,
Okay.
in April. This past
So
April, I moved down in 2005.
and this is in no way slamming on anything, but I'm just curious. As a corner stage ballroom musician, I'm curious of what songs you remember that you had to cover the most, or what was kind of
At
the
that
songs that you had to do all the time back then.
at that time, it was like the people that tipped were older folks at that time.
Okay.
So it was always stuff I enjoyed,
It
right?
was
So
still
like it
okay.
was
Right.
it was Folsom Prison, It was Walk the Line. Are You Sure? Hang Done It That Way.
Well, that's good.
Family Tradition, like a bunch of stuff that I enjoyed playing. And we did anyway. And then there were the typical covers of like Sweet Home Alabama. And to this day, nothing against that song or the folks from
Understood.
Alabama. I've never done it. Never one time.
Really?
I've always had this little thing in me that's like, if I'm supposed to have to do something and you're telling me this is what you have to do, it's not a good thing, but I kind of go like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. And so I would pass that off to a guitar player and be like, hey, we just got tipped
Okay.
$100 to do Sweet Home
Understood.
Alabama. So
Okay.
you sing it and I'm going to
That's
go
the
outside and take a
loophole.
break.
That's the loophole. Okay.
Yep.
All right. That makes complete sense. The bass player and guitar player always got to do a couple songs anyway, so that you pass off the three steps and the Sweet Home and
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. Understood. Understood. Mine these days would be Tennessee Whiskey is the one that I'm probably probably should do money wise, but I just can't. Like it doesn't fit me. Square peg, round hole,
Yep.
sort of thing.
Understand.
So yeah. No, I was just no. That's cool though, because it's not necessarily the songs of the time that you're naming there. So that's cool.
Yeah. But like I said, the people that tipped, they were older folks that came in. They had money. The young people would come in and want to hear whatever was popular in 2005, 2006.
Okay.
And I'm like, sorry, but we're doing our set list unless you have money to change it. I'm not going to do a request just because you want it. This is it's how we made our living, was strictly off tip. So
Gotcha.
you get good at saying no.
It helps you build up the stubbornness if you didn't already have it.
It does.
So, just moving to Nashville, and I mean, we're saying you moved from Indiana to Nashville and started playing Broadway. That sounds really easy to do, just by saying I moved from Indiana to started playing Broadway. But was it? I mean, did you have? I know there's a bunch of doors you're trying to get your foot into, but just getting a gig on Broadway from moving into town, that doesn't seem like it would be that easy to do.
No, I see. When I moved here, I was 19, so I wasn't supposed to be in any of the bars after a certain time.
Mm,
So I would go down there during the day, and I'd go in Tootsie's because I'd heard of Tootsie's, and that was the place everybody wanted to play at that time. I don't go down there much anymore, so I don't know like what are the hot spots, but that
understood.
was the spot. And so I would go in there regularly, and then I'd stay down there all day. And the different artists that were playing got to know who I was because I was
Okay.
always there. And you just kind of be looking at them like, hey, if you want to take a break, like I'll do a song for you.
I got you.
And I did that for probably a month or two, man. And then they offered me at the time, at that time, Tootsie's only had two stages. They had the front room and the back room. So the back room on Saturdays, they did an open mic. So people could write their name on a little piece of paper, put it in a bucket, and we would draw names out, and they needed a host for it. So they asked me to start hosting that. So I was doing that on Saturdays, and that turned into a steady gig. And then they offered me a daytime shift playing a couple days a week. And then over the course of, 5 or 6 months, I had established myself with the owners of the place and, with some of the local musicians, and had built kind of this little group of guys. And it just kind of went from there. And then I got better shifts, and,
Hmm.
the more money you can make the club, the better shift they're going to give you. Right. Cause they want that. They want people to hold people in there.
Hmm.
So we worked our way up to where we were. I never did the late night, like weekend 10 to 2. They wanted more like a rock, somebody that could do a little bit more rock stuff.
Yeah.
So we were doing 6 to 10s Friday, Saturday, 2 to 6s and 6 to 10s. I was doing like 4 shifts, 4 days a week. We were doing like 8-hour shifts. So like Wednesday through Saturday was 2 o'clock. I would get down there like 1:30, play 2 to 6, take a short break, play 6 to 10. And that was my gig for a little over a year, probably, before the National Star thing came along.
So, but you just picked that up by just kind of being present and just being around until you got
That's it.
opportunities to get on stage. Oh,
That was it. I
cool.
knew that's why I moved here. So I'm like, what else am I going to do? And and my dad had instilled into my brother and I like work ethic. Like you got to show up, you got to be there, you got to be
Okay.
present. If you're not going to get the job or whatever it may be. Like you have to be there. So
Right.
I took that advice to heart. I was always around. So guys got to know me, and I like to think of myself as being somewhat personable. So like I'd make friends with the the lead singer of the different places, uh and it was cool for
Right.
them because it gave them a little bit of a break. They could get down for 10 minutes, I could do two or three songs, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a win-win.
Yeah. You weren't asking for anything but a little bit of stage time. So,
That's it.
um,
Yeah.
just kind of real quick, how did the Nashville Star thing kind of come about, and just kind of give us a little recap on all that. I remember those shows. I remember, this was long before The Voice and all of those things. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember the Miranda years and the Casey Musgrave and
They
I
yeah,
believe you
Miranda.
were on Chris Young's year, I believe,
Chris Young
correct?
won. Yep,
Okay.
that's right. Miranda won the year before, and then Chris won the year that I was on, and then I don't know if Casey Musgraves won, but she was on the year after us.
Right. Okay.
So that whole opportunity got started. So like, if you back up, I was like 20 at the time when Nashville Star came along. So back up, I was like 16. We're on spring break playing down in Florida. Not playing, we were on spring break vacation, and there was a uh, like American Legion, and my dad saw it in the newspaper and was like, "Hey, I'm going to take you over here, and They have an open mic." So I went in and played. This old man came up and was like, "Hey, my son runs this big. It's called the Eastern States Exposition, up in the New England states, and they have like two or three of those New England states have like this big fair that they all kind of gather in
Okay.
on." So anyway, this guy John Giuliano was the coordinator of that, the talent buyer, and so he got us in contact with him because it was his son. So send him a CD. He puts us in contact with a guy named Barry Jeffrey at William Morris Agency in Nashville. So I knew Barry before I ever moved to town.
Okay.
So he was definitely a good guy to know. Um, so after I'd been here for like 8 or 9 months, 10 months, whatever it was, I would go in and maybe once a month, like I'd go in and just pop in and talk to Barry. And, because dude, when I got here, like the best advice I ever got was actually when I got here, I went straight to his office and I was basically like, "Hey, I'm here. Like, I need money. I need a bus. I need a label. Like I know you're the guy that can make all this stuff happen." And I said, what do I need to do?" And he said, "You need to stick around." And I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Just stick around." He's like, "I see guys come, they stay for a year or two and they go home." And he's like, "Those guys never go anywhere. So just stick around." And I didn't want to hear it, but it was true. Right. So
Hmm.
anyway, to get back on point, he called me one day and was like, "Hey, there's a show, Nashville Star. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." He's like, "Well, you need to go over to the Tin Roof on Munbrian, and they have auditions on whatever Tuesday. And go in, and as long as you don't screw the audition up, then you'll be on." Because they were that show, as much as it was like come in and try out for it. And
Right.
now that the show's not running, they had label people and music industry folks that were kind of hand picking and going, "Hey, we would like to see this act on here," and then they would take those 30 and then narrow it down to the 10.
Right.
Um, so that's how that whole thing got started, and we did the show. It's great exposure, a lot of people watching it, and then we did the tour afterwards, and that was great experience. Started me down kind of a dark path, but besides that, for like the exposure and all of that, it was a good thing.
Yeah. Understand. As far as that path goes, we can. I know that's part of your story and part of your, for lack of better words, your testimony. So we can talk about any of that you want to. I know that's part of what you like to do these days as well, as far as just just speaking to people about real life situations
Absolutely, man.
and everything that goes, being a family and a family man in the world these days. I know that's important to you, so we can talk about any of those parts that you want without. Um, I know you've talked about this before, but it's still I feel like it's important to you to talk about those things. So when you mentioned the dark path, is that just the partying and the drinking side of the
It was,
touring and
yeah,
all of that, just because it's so present?
it is, man. And I had started like I was, playing in clubs, and I wasn't even 21 at the time, but when you're playing in clubs, you can get
Hmm.
stuff, it's not a problem. So that it kind of became just a part of it was part of the culture. It is
Hmm.
part of the culture, whether people like it or not. It's part of the entertainment business. And I jumped, lock, stock, and barrel. I was sold on it, and I thought that's just what people did.
What you
And
did, yeah.
so um, the Nashville Star thing kind of got me into a little bit more into drugs and that kind of stuff. And again, it was I had a guy ask me a while back, like, why did you go down that path? And I was like, I look back now and I go, because I didn't know who I was. Like, I didn't know, I
Right.
didn't, I was like a fish out of water, and I'm trying to figure out my path, who I am. I didn't really know who I was. I wasn't taught that. Um, so if you don't know who you are and don't have solid ground to stand on, you're gonna crumble under pressure every time.
Easily
And I
swayed.
did. I easily swayed, man. And I did
Hmm.
that so many times, and it was a roller coaster, for years and years and years. And ended up marrying um, the, a girl that we were together in high school, and we'd broke up for a little bit of time, but we got back together and had a couple kids, and our oldest daughter's 17 now, and I thought that would kind of settle me down, and like, this is going to be the thing that breaks this off of me, right? But I learned shortly after that, like, people can't save me. That's not possible. Um, so I continued, like, falling back into the same habits, and those, it's like a snowball effect, like, you do a little, and I tell it to my kids now, like, it's doing wrong is like a slippery slope. Like, at some point you're going to slide to a point that you look around and you're like, holy crap, I didn't mean to wind up here.
Right.
But it's like just little slips at a time, and when one thing becomes okay, then it's like, oh, well, I could do a little bit more and that would probably be okay. And then before long, years down the road, I'm looking back at my life and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm trying to keep two worlds separated. Um, I had stopped, like, the drug use, like that. That was a short stint, like, on the hard drug stuff.
Hmm.
But drinking became the biggest issue. And then as the years went by, like, unfaithfulness to my wife became a big issue. And that went on for years and years. And man, I knew what I was doing. I knew the wrong in it. And for me, like, I was raised right, like,
Understood.
I knew, like, I had a Christian upbringing. Um, and I think that kept me from going too far a lot of times, and I look back now and I'm like, man, God had his hand in so many areas of my life that I didn't even realize,
Or
and he
you would
was
have went
there,
too far.
or I would have went
Right.
too far. I'd have been dead,
Right.
you
Understood.
know. So there's a reason, I look at it now and I'm like, there's a reason I'm still here. But man, it was a long road. And finally it was 2016, man. And I had done so I did another show called CMT's Next Superstar.
Hmm.
And that was in 2012. So between those two shows was it 2005 or six, I think, was Nashville Star. So it was like 6 years later, um, and the CMT show comes up. And for like a year leading up to that show, I was doing pretty good. Like, I had been clean, I was exercising, like, I felt good about everything. And that show was Barry Jeffrey, the guy at William Morris. Same guy called, was like, "Hey, do you want to do this show?" I'm like, man, I don't want to be the dude that goes from reality show to reality show. Like, that's not, I want to be like a genuine artist and make it because I'm talented, not because
Right.
I know somebody that can get me on a show,
Mhm.
And my wife was basically like, what else are you doing? Like playing Broadway? Like, I mean, not that that's a bad thing. You can make a great living at it, but like if you're wanting this thing to go bigger, do it. So I
So
did, and that put us
playing
on
Broadway
tour.
is not really much different than the TV show.
Right. Like, right, yeah. So, we did a show. I ended up winning that. Um, and that we were out on tour. We did a Luke Bryan tour when he was just starting to play like 5 to 10,000 seat, like coliseums. They
Okay.
weren't like the big arenas where he's at
Right.
now. They were like college size, like ball stadiums, so a little bit smaller, but still huge. I mean, to me at the time was like, holy
Mhm.
crap. And again, like it was kind of like Nashville Star Tour repeat for me. Like I'm out on the road, you got the spotlight a little bit. And I had a habit of self-destructing. Like when things start going good, like I would find a way to just
Right.
put a stick in the spoke and flip myself over the front, and just train wreck. And that's basically what happened. And so it was 2016. So to get back on that story before I get like into the label and all that stuff. So like
It's okay.
2016, end of 2016, I was in New Mexico, and I went out for a walk one morning, and my mom had called me, and I'm a mama's boy, always have been. And she called and was like, she's kind of like a bull in a china shop. Like when mama has to say something, she says whatever she has to say, especially to me and my brother. Like no
Okay.
holds barred. I'm going to tell you what I think, whether you like it or not. So she went on and on. She's like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't know what kind of life you're living, but she's like, I can see it in your wife. Like, she's going to leave you if you don't change. Something doesn't happen. And I was like, it was a wake up call, right? For
Mhm.
me. Cause I was like, she sounds serious. Like, this is not a normal, this is not, so I went for a walk, man. And, I had a conversation with God that was not a, it wasn't a fake conversation. It wasn't a, I need conversation, cause I was always the guy that like, before I'd go to sleep, like I might be whatever out of my mind. There could be somebody with me, whatever, but I'd always be like, Lord, forgive me, before I went to sleep. Because I thought like, if I die, I don't want to wind up in hell. So that's like my get out of hell free card, right? Like it's fire insurance.
Right.
Um, but I didn't have a relationship. There was no relationship. It was just a fear-based thing.
Understood.
So I went for the walk, and I was like, Lord, like I know you're real. Like I don't question that. Um, I've never doubted that Jesus was real. Like that wasn't my struggle, right? Like that wasn't a hard part for me. I don't doubt that he was, who he said he was, that he died, that he rose again. Like that's never been a big problem. The problem that I have is like I'm not for sure that you actually love me. Like I struggle with that aspect of it. So I was like, here's the deal. And this is literally almost verbatim what I was saying. I was like, here's the deal. I'll give you 3 months. And if my life is not any different, then I'll go right back to what I'm doing now. Um,
Mm.
and if it is different, then great. Then I'll do this thing for real. But like, don't ever ask me to tell anybody anything I've ever done, because I ain't gonna do that. And it's like I picture him now, kind of sitting back, like I don't know what God looks like, but like if he was, sitting there and he kind of sit back and chuckle, kind of like you do your kids, like at times. I don't know if
Right.
you have kids or not, but
Yeah.
like
Like, you think you can write the rules?
yeah, and you're like, okay, that's cool. Like we're finding a little uh some ground here to like we can work on that. Um and it was about a year later, and I was like, I noticed a difference. Like I noticed a serious difference in myself. It wasn't a 180 change for me. Like I didn't quit doing everything at once, and it was a gradual thing. But like at the end of 2017, I was kind of put into a situation where it's like you either tell your wife you got to be transparent, and be honest, or you got to start lying again. And I was like, man. So I sat her down and I just laid it out, man. Everything I had ever done ever in our marriage, like I laid it all out on the line. And that was like an 8-month conversation we had. It was a long process. But we got through all that stuff. And like, like I said, I look back now and I'm like, I regret the things that I did, but I don't regret what it's taught me,
Yeah. Makes sense.
And it's built, like it's gave me a relationship with Christ that I didn't have, to where he's taught me even since then. Like, I don't think we ever quit growing. But since that time, like he's been able to show me, like, you don't have to follow me out of fear. Like, it's not a fear-based get out of hell free. It's like, you do this because I love you so much that I want you to love me back. And I've noticed with my own kids, like I use the fear tactic for a long time of like, you do as I say or else. Right. And I started noticing, like in our son, that like he would be fearful and he started lying, and like it became a deal where he was like scared to tell me something because of the fear of how I would explode or how I would react to it.
Not the respect part, but the fear part.
It was all that. It was all that. So when I shifted that, because I started thinking like, man, this is how God's been with me. So what if I tried that on my kid? So like he had done something, and he had gotten the habit of this. So he'd done something else. And I was like, hey, dude, like, let's talk about this. And I saw this whole demeanor shift in him of like, wait a second, Dad's not mad at me. He's just talking to me. And since then, when he has an issue, like he just comes to me and is honest and is like, hey, I did this or whatever. He comes for advice. He comes for different stuff. And I'm like, that's how. And it's not fear-based. It's, hey, Dad, I love you. I respect you. I screwed up. Like I messed up. Help me get through that. And I'm like, cool. That's great. And if I can do that as a dad, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
And how much more can God do that?
Right.
So he's it's been a long journey, man. And it's been a process. But I think for me, like being honest, like being open and honest, since then has helped me. It's helped me to be, a better husband, a better dad, a better friend. And then before we got back out on the road, I was like, basically, I'm never going to tour again. Like I had no desire to do that because we were doing great. Like streaming was awesome. Like God blessed everything so much that it was crazy. Like we're like, how is all this stuff happening? Like our numbers were, and still are, like they're huge. And my wife finally, after, so long, was like, look, dude, you have a story to tell. Like you need to be out and be able to engage with people. And like, you don't have to preach at them, but during every show, like I try to give a real short version of that same story of like in a minute or less, just to be like, hey, I'm not telling you that you have to follow Jesus, but I'm just telling you it's worth a try. Like just try it and try it for real. And if you try it for real, like he'll do something. I don't have to prove it, like I've seen it work in my own life. And if it's not him, it would be too weird. Like it'd be more weird if it wasn't him than if it was.
Even as just as an artist, just you going out and being yourself on stage in these venues that we'll definitely talk about. But I think these days, maybe more than ever, people respect folks that are themselves and just come and play their songs and give their story and just be yourself in whatever your form of entertainment is for that hour and a half. I think people really connect with those things. It's especially these days with all these different artists. And there's so many artists out there that it's available now to make a living and to tour and play those songs. And as an independent, musician. And I think a lot of people gravitate towards that.
They do. And I think, man, with like social media is such a big part of our culture now.
Hmm.
And, I've struggled with that. I'm trying to like kind of engage in that aspect more and more,
Hmm.
because I've realized like that's how you talk to people. It's how you reach people. You got to meet people where they are. So I've come to appreciate the social networking and all that, but it sucks in the same regard, because it's like a false reality. Like you can post and put up everything in the world, and make people think that like everything is great. And we have a bunch of people that are going around like, and their life sucks, but as far as everybody knows, their life is awesome. And I'm like, and I just got back from a couple different men's groups that I went on a hunting trip, and then we were out in Texas, and I did a speaking thing at a men's night. And I've come to find that like, if you can give people a chance to be honest and like just get everything out, there's freedom in that.
Hmm.
Like you don't have to be anything. Like you just be yourself. Like you can be
Hmm.
who God made you to be, and you don't have to try to prove anything to anybody. Because honestly, the older I get, the more I realize that people don't give a crap about you. Like they're so self-consumed. Our world is not everybody. That's a broad
Understood.
generalization, but we're so self-consumed that we're so concerned about what other people think about us, and they're thinking about what people think about them, where nobody is actually concerned about somebody else. And when you find those people, it's like, it was a big issue I had, like when we started going back to church, and you ask people like, hey, how are you? They're like, oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing great. And you can see it on people. Or people would ask me like, how you doing? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. And I asked a buddy one day, I said, what would happen though, like in those settings, if you just like were like, you know what, my life sucks. Like I'm struggling with alcohol, like porn addiction
Right.
is a problem. And you just go through the list of typical cultural issues that we face today.
Right.
That guy or that girl would be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I just thought you were going to say good and God bless you, and we'll go on about our
Right.
business.
Right. Hmm.
Um, but I think if we could be honest, and when people are honest with us, like we actually lend them an ear, to be like, hey man, like let's chat it out. That's what we're supposed to be as human beings. I think like we're designed for community of some kind, and actually rely on our neighbor. And you don't have to be all self-sufficient. It's like me as an artist now, like I have DJ and Rick, and we just hired a booking agent, and I'm learning more and more that like I rely so heavily on these guys that if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be able to do any of this. Like I wouldn't be in contact with you right now, right? If
Right.
it wasn't for DJ like making the connection. And
Yep. Thanks, DJ.
we just, yeah, I think he's listening.
He is. I'm pretty sure he's on YouTube. So I'm curious. You kind of got out of the Nashville the label thing, and you there is a story out there. I mean, like I said, I encourage you to go listen to other podcasts that Matt might be on. So definitely go do that. But you kind of you got out of a label situation easier than you expected from what I gather, and
Way
you
easier, man.
then you started doing some stuff on your own, and it started kind of clicking for you. How did that situation has come about as far as that first album out of the gate on your own?
So, at the time I was with Warner Brothers, right? So the winning of CMT put me, it was a record contract with Warner,
Okay.
and got signed on there, and everything was seemingly great. Had an A&R, and ended up, my A&R lady got let go, and I was like a little fish in a big pond. So I
Understood.
was getting paid no attention to. And um, John Esposito, president at the time, he may still be the president. I'm completely unsure, but
Right.
he's a great dude. Like he really is. But just like I just mentioned, like we all have our team of people, right? So he's relying on other people. He's trying to run the whole ship, but you got to have crew members that can, fix, patch the boat and do different things. So I had got some songs together, and I was out touring, out doing acoustic shows. Me and a guitar player were hitting the road. We're going out doing all this stuff. That the Luke Bryan tour is 2 years past, so we're back out doing our own thing. And I had a guy I was kind of working with at the time, and he was like, "Hey, man, I got this project together," and he's like, "Hey, you should probably see about getting out from your Warner deal or see what that looks like, because like if this thing does well, they're going to pick it up." And so I went in and talked to him, and like you just mentioned, like I was able to get out of that deal so easy.
And this is the Where I've Been album? Is that what that is?
Guns and Guitars, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I think is the name of the title track on that. So no. Sorry. Excuse me. That was already out. That had been out. So I had released that.
Okay.
We were selling that. I was selling that on the road.
Okay.
That's how we were making merch money, was by selling that CD when CDs were still a thing. And we were selling those, and so I had got a new project, a little EP that I did, Chasing Stardust, and it had like 6 or 7 songs maybe on that. And so before we released that project, that was when the guy was like, "Hey, you might want to get out of this deal." So I went in, talked to Esposito. They got me out of the contract free and clear. I was able to walk. I'm trying to think. That's probably like 2014, and I had put that stuff out on my own, and it wasn't really doing much. Like, we were able to maybe pay like some of our mortgage with it every month, but it wasn't doing, I wouldn't say well,
Right. Okay.
So at the end of 2017, when I had set my wife down, right? So like I'm kind of jumping stories back and forth to try to pull them together. But when I had set her down, and I was like, "Listen," she was cleaning Airbnb houses at that time, and that's really how we made our income, was from her doing that. I was on the road, but I said, "You're going to quit working, and I'm going to come off the road." And she does our finances, right? So she's like, "We can't afford to do that," and I'm like, "We can't afford not to." So Rick and DJ had flown to Nashville a year prior to meet with me. They were interested, and I was super nervous about working with these guys, right? So this is into 2016. I've just kind of came back to Christ. These guys show up in town. They're wanting a piece, in my mind, they're wanting a piece of the small amount of money that I'm making. And I'm like, I don't know if I like that. So it's kind of a handshake deal of like, "Hey, just try us out and see, And I started noticing like it was doing better through 2017. Like things were definitely doing better. And dude, when I came off the road, it was like, this is my conversation at the end of that time after I came clean with Katie was like, I imagine me and God sitting at a table, and I like have, my family, I have my career, I have my life, and I kind of push them across the table, and I'm like, "Here, you take all these things, because I don't really know what I'm doing with them." And it's like, he was like, "That's all I wanted, man. Like, I was just waiting on that."
Gotcha.
And it's like he breathed on this thing, and when he did, numbers started growing so fast that like I would talk to Rick or DJ like every week, and they'd be like, "Man," because they weren't sinking marketing money into it. Like DJ works his butt off, like trying to get it into playlists and doing all the stuff that he's doing, but it was just growing like crazy.
And this was the album with E, the
with
writer's
E,
collection.
right?
Yeah.
Yep. So everything's just like, and we're watching this stuff like, holy cow. And I remember, upstairs praying one day, and I'm like, "Lord, how is all this stuff working?" And I was trying to learn at that time to hear like the voice of God, and how does that work, and how does he speak to us, because he has to be able to speak to us. And so I'm like working on that, and I remember it was so strong, like inside of me, that I heard, and it wasn't me, I know it wasn't me, it was like, you'll point your finger at nobody but me. And I was like, okay, touche. So from that point moving forward, to be honest, like the reason everything did well is because of God. Like he set everything up. Like, yes, he brought Smith Music in, and he brought an awesome group of guys for me to work with. But as far as the music just taking off, like, you know, Rick and DJ have mentioned, like, they have other artists that ask, like, hey, what are you guys doing with Matt?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we don't know what we're doing. Like, they know what they're doing, but like, we don't know how this is happening. Like,
Don't
he's
know
not on
why
the
this is
road.
working. Right.
Yeah. Like, I'm not touring. We're not sinking money into it. Nothing. And it's just exploding. And we're just dude, since I came off the road, I had a few dates in 2018. And until last year, I hadn't played one show live at all. None. And had no intent of going back out and doing that. And we just have watched this thing. Like, it's just been incredible. Like, and the fans that it's brought in, and like, our fans are such awesome. Like, they're so incredible. You know, they're like I remember when we used to be out touring a lot heavy, and I had a guitar player. He's like, man, I've not seen many country music fans that like your music the way that most country music fans like music. Like, you have like an underground rock following. Well, when these people start listening, it's like they become part of it. Like, they become part of this machine that's like expanding and growing. And we've seen that, and we've noticed that, like, over the years, and watching people that are continuous listeners of the songs. And it's just been incredible, man.
The thing that comes to mind when you mention that, as far as the numbers starting to pick up tremendously after the fact, is the band Uncle Lucius. I don't know if you're familiar with them. You know, I don't know all the details, but they split up, and then their song "Keep the Wolves Away" like took off. You know, after they had been on
Really?
the road for years and years, and you know, like I said, I don't know details of the story, but I know basically they had kind of fizzled out as a band, and then the song takes off, and now they're back together and they're touring, and you know, and doing all that thing. So I mean, they had their success, but the songs weren't what they are
What they are
now.
now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and they went from you know, fizzling out to on TV shows and things like that. So it's crazy how that can be. So that when you went off, you decided you were going to take off. You weren't going to be on the road anymore. You were going to go from home. One, the fact that you were able to make I mean, I'm sure you know it wasn't millions of dollars, but you were able to make a steady living just off of what you had put out
That's it,
before.
man. Yeah.
Which is crazy because like most people kind of lament uh, streaming and things to that nature. You know, there is a good and a bad to all of that, but um, you know, it seems to be it played out tremendously for you.
It's been incredible for us. I mean, I've heard guys, you know, and even big artists, that they have their opinions on streaming. And
Hmm.
but for me, I'm like, that's my wheelhouse. Like, that's
That's
how
the only way.
that's how I
That's the
make
only way they know you.
that's the only way they know me. That's the only way we've
Hmm.
made a living for the last, 7 years prior to going back out last year. And even still, like, that's the biggest source of our income. You know, like, even we're back out on the road trying to build, um, to trying to get our live numbers, to match what our streaming numbers are. And if we could do that, then yeah, we'd probably be making a lot more on the road. Um, but I'm super thankful for,
Hmm.
Spotify and Pandora and YouTube and all of these different platforms people listen to music, because it's given independent artists like myself a chance to actually make a living. When I came to town, that was unheard of. Like
Right.
there might be a few little companies like online starter companies that were getting going where you could maybe put your songs out or something, but you had to have a label deal. It was the only thing. It was the only way to make it
Right.
because you needed that financial backing. And now you can go into the studio and, if you can save your money up and go in and cut some songs, and heck, I mean, you can buy a little home recording equipment. And I mean, look at who's that guy,
Yeah.
Oliver Anthony, like recorded
Right.
his song on his freaking Android phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can
Exactly.
make something sound good.
Yeah. Definitely. So I'm curious as far as that time you took all that time off, and um, the I guess relatively your success wasn't near as much when you took off when you come off the road. Your success was to a certain point, but when you started going back and making some tour dates, the bar was higher or the graph was higher, if that makes sense. Um,
Much higher.
how did how was that? Like those first couple. I mean, I'm sure it's still even that, but when you take that first step to go play those shows after all that time, and you feel that the energy from the new fans that they didn't even you never met them before,
Never knew him.
right?
Yeah, it was. I was the first couple of shows, man. I was a nervous wreck. I mean, it'd been so long. It, but it took about two or three songs, and I was like, okay, like we're all
I'm
right.
sure
Like
it's
I'm
rewarding
back
though.
again. But it was the coolest thing to me, man. Is all the shows that we've been doing are ticketed events, so it's not just a club that people are just showing up at.
Hmm.
Um, which there's great. We did that for years, and I'm thankful for those times, and I'm thankful for the living that we made. But to see people actually pay their hard-earned money
They're
to
coming to
come
see
out
you,
to come exactly it's still even now like we just
right?
had some dates back in Texas again, and it's surreal to go up, and we're doing about 100 between 100 and 300 tickets a night depending on where we're at and that. But even 80 people that buy a ticket, I'm like, that's crazy to me. Like, it's crazy to me that you're buying a ticket to come watch me play. That
Hmm.
still is like, it's humbling, and it's surreal. It's the only word I can think of. Like, it's not weird. It's awesome, but it's still so crazy to me, because
Understood.
I don't look at myself like that. Like, I was always just a guy. We go out and we go play a club somewhere, and people were just in there. And if we did well enough, we might gain some new fans from it. Or, we could maybe sell some merch if
Right.
people were paying attention. Um,
But you're still
but
hooking
now,
for 10 or 20 people at night compared to,
right. And now people are coming out and like they're listening, like they're engaging, they're singing along to some of this stuff, which is wild to me.
right.
Um, and they're appreciative, and it's like, in all of the shows we're doing, 95 to 100% of them are all family friendly. So like we're trying to tell people like, hey, my deal is like my family is the most important thing to me, right? My wife and I have 4 kids, and what sucks a lot of times in today's concert like show, like not concerts, you go to a big concert, you can go,
Right.
whoever can go really, but like for your up and coming acts, they're playing in places a lot of times that you have to be 18 or you have to be 21 to go
Yep.
see them. And we've noticed that with our daughter. My daughter loves going to
Same.
shows, and there's a lot of
Same.
places she can't go to. So I
Yep.
was like, you know what? I don't want that. Like, I want people to be able to bring their kids out and have a family night. If they want to leave the kids at home so that, mom and dad can have a date night, great, that's cool. But if you want to bring your kids, like our shows are family friendly, you know, um, I don't like, I'm not a party guy. Like, I don't care that people drink at a place or whatever, do your thing.
Right.
But like, I'm not on stage. I'm not going to be intoxicated. I'm not going to be cussing at the crowd. Like, it's going to be none of that. Like, you can bring your kids and have a good time and not be worried about like, what's this guy going to say? or what's he going to do? Is it going to be inappropriate? There's none of that. And I just want that to be the core of this thing of like, bring your family out and have a good time and enjoy, de-stressing together. And, I don't know, I think doing stuff as a family is important. And I think we do less and less of that, the more time goes on, it seems like.
It's true, but and you're right. There's a handful of venues around town where I can take my daughter and my son to those shows like that. When there's a few where they like, I don't know any of these guys' songs. I'm like, well, you're going anyway because this is American Aquarium and you're gonna like it because trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you need to know their stuff.
And then they wound up on a BJ Barham T-shirt by all means. But anyway. There's a shot from BJ from behind his back where BJ's looking at the crowd, and there we are, front and center.
That's awesome.
So the concert that I drugged them to, they ended up on a T-shirt, which is like, what are the odds of that ever happening?
Right. That's pretty cool.
One of the things I want to make sure we talk about, and usually we do a song in halfway, but we went way past that. So we'll just let you. Describe the song and we'll go out with your song. But you got a show coming up next week at Bird's Listening Room. I happen to have the little card right there.
Yep.
And several others like Backroom Listening Lounge, those types of venues like that. I know you're hitting a lot of those places. Can you kind of speak on what those kinds of the independent venues, what they mean to independent artists like yourself?
Man, for me as a songwriter, and that's kind of what, like, I'm a country music artist, yes, but I kind of fall into the singer-songwriter aspect of it, right? So when we're going out and we're playing, like, for years, we took a band, when we could afford it, we take a full band, do the full big show and loud and just in your face. And I started having a lot of people, like, once I'd started releasing my own music, folks were going, hey, like, we love the band and we love all the stuff, but like, we came here to hear your songs. And I was like, okay. So we started doing a broke down thing where it was like a drummer, a bass player, and me on guitar, and I'm not a lead player. So it was more quiet. It was more of an acoustic feel, and fans were liking that better because they could the music wasn't overpowering the vocals.
It was representing your songs just as well, if not better.
And people loved it. And so we're like, okay. So that's how we've been for the last 2 years. That's really what we've been doing, is going out just like that. And these little, these smaller places, these listening room style venues, they appreciate that. Their listeners appreciate that. That's what they want to come out. They want to hear the songs. They want to, and there's a time and place. Like, we did a big festival last year and we took the full band because you don't want to like suck the energy out of the room. But on these ticketed events, at least for right now, that's how we're doing it. And we'll grow, and like, we'll figure out, what that looks like in time to incorporate other musicians. But it's twofold, it's feasible for us to do, where we can get out on the road and play stuff and we're not going in the hole doing it. And it's appreciated right now. At least it seems to be. Like, last year, I remember one day specifically in Florida, and at the end of the show, we always stay after. Like, I always stay after and sign for everybody that's there. If you want a picture, if you can buy something, great. If you can't, if you spend all your money on a ticket, just come get a picture, say hi. Like, we stay until the end. And this guy came up and he was like, man, I got to be honest with you. He said that when I first showed up and you guys walked out and I saw you guys were doing like an acoustic set, he's like, I was super disappointed and I was fixing to leave. But he's like, there's 3 concerts that are ranked as my highest, and this is one of them. And I was like, that's a pretty incredible statement. And so it's just, that's kind of what we're doing in these little rooms like that, these listening type rooms, these independent guys that are allowing independent artists to come in. And, there's a niche for that. There's a place for that. And I think fans enjoy that, like, my wife and daughter are, well, mainly our daughter, but my wife goes with her to concerts. and they love it. But at the same time, they come home and they're like, we're drained. It was so loud, and it was, like it just, and there's a time and place for that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, even they say like, man, I wish that, whoever, name the artist, would just sit down with the guitar and just play. Like, that would be awesome. It's more intimate. You get to hear some of the stories about the songs, you can interact with the audience, and it's a more laid back style of playing, and that's kind of my personality anyway. Like, I'm not a real super energetic guy. So it kind of
Right.
fits. It kind of fits a little bit.
I understand. Another thing I want to make sure we talk about, just because I find that interesting. You from Indiana to Nashville, and I heard you say that Texas was a big deal to your fan base and to your just the venue. Texas, I'm pretty sure you said Texas has always been good to me. Um,
It
how
is.
has what I mean? I know it's streaming, and that's kind of the world we live in. Like that is a huge market for singer songwriters, independent musicians, all of those things. But can you kind of speak on that? Why? I mean, as far as how Texas is for you. I mean, we are the Texas to Tennessee podcast, and Texas is missing from the show tonight. So,
Well,
uh,
man, Texas, like, first of all, you're right. They appreciate singer songwriter. People come out to hear, like, they'll come out to watch somebody that they've never heard of. Just sit with a guitar and play. Like, it's what a lot of Texans enjoy doing. Like, that's how they go spend their Friday or Saturday or Thursday or Tuesday night. Like, let's go out and listen to some music. So that part of it was awesome, because I noticed that, like, these people actually care about songwriting. Like, they might have a few drinks, but it's not just for a party. Like, we're not just coming out to get drunk and dance. We're coming out to listen. So I started noticing that when we were playing there. And Texas is its own, like, they're a pretty tight knit group. Like, it could be its own country probably.
right.
And a lot of folks there were like, man, we've never heard of you. It's so awesome that you're playing here. Like, where are you from? And when they started finding out, they're like, well, that's all right. Like, we'll still accept you. But I started finding, like, my music fits there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because of that kind of red dirt singer songwriter type feel that they just appreciate more. And then with the streaming stuff, man, like, our biggest, I'd say more than 50% of our monthly streams come out of Texas.
I got
And
you.
yeah, I mean, it's a huge state, obviously, and there's a lot of people, but, like, that East Texas region, man, is just, those people like what I'm doing. They like that kind of music, and they appreciate it. And we have pockets of, like, Indiana is obviously a huge place for us. Ohio, Illinois, we'll be in North Carolina, and we're trying different markets to see what other places offer, and what, because we want to be able to get to fans that are everywhere. We just have to make it make sense. But Texas is that place that just, if I had known, and probably everything works out for the best, but if I had known at 19 what I know now, I
Okay,
probably would have just went to Texas
I
instead of
got you.
ever coming to Nashville to begin with. I think that,
Fair enough.
I don't know.
Understood. Understood. Well, the way that seems to work is, even if you would have went to Texas, you still would have ended up in Nashville to write with somebody, or something to that nature, or network in some way,
There's,
shape, or
yeah,
form.
there's pros and
Um,
cons and everything.
yeah, understood. All right. Well, I know we're kind of up against it. We're running a little bit long, so I won't do too many of the rapid fire questions. But um, I'm curious on where I've been. We got two questions. One for me, where I've been. When I hear that song, and I know this came out in 2008, and this was before Cody Jinks, but I hear Cody Jinks as far as the style of the song, your vocal tone. Like, there's a lot of similarities between um, you two on that particular song. Do you get that very much, or is that just me?
Yeah, we have, and I don't know. I didn't even know who he was
Understood.
at the time, and I don't even know if he was doing. I know he was
I,
into rock before.
yeah, he didn't have any of his country stuff out at that time because
No,
I actually had to go back and look and reconfirm that for myself. So
so that whole song was like I'd had the idea. I wrote about 90% of it, and then a guitar player I had at the time, Rodney Griffin, who's a great guy, good songwriter, good guitar player. We finished it together, but I wanted a kind of a Waylon Jennings feel
okay,
on that song. Um, so he kind of added the phaser, the phaser on the guitar, and
that's probably is a little, yeah. It's probably the guitar tone and your vocal tone. There, y'all are definitely in the same ballpark on that particular. Not on the rest of your stuff, but that song, it's that you definitely could have been brothers or something.
yeah,
Uh,
I've heard similar stories.
Understood. All right. Let's see. The co-host Steve. He is originally from Wichita,
Okay.
and he wanted to know how Wichita made it into E.
I honestly, it just it fit.
Understood.
There was no rhyme or reason. We wrote that song, me and we've never written since. It's crazy. Me and a lady named Jennifer Zeffinetti and Kyle Jacobs, who's since passed away. We were at a writing retreat, and it was the last day of the retreat. Been there 4 days, writing morning and evening, and we got teamed up the last morning. And so we wrote like it was Jennifer's idea for the song. She was like, "Hey, I've got this weird title." And she said it, and we're like, great. We start talking about what the story could be, and we wrote about half of it that morning. Finished it like 2 weeks later, and I've never seen either one of them since.
Okay.
It's weird, and but I went, after the song was done, I was like, man, this song is doing like people were enjoying it live when we were playing, so I tried to make that. But there's no rhyme or reason why Wichita made it in.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
not even a true story. Like it's some songs have like a lot of truth behind them, but that one
Right.
was like that was it was just a
Well,
made up story. Like
I guess it's kind of good that that's a made up story, or you'd be incriminating somebody, right? So
yeah, you could probably wind up in jail for something like that.
don't actually do what is in the song
Don't
E. Just
no,
listen
don't
to
do
it and
that.
enjoy the story. Don't do that.
Yep.
Um, all right. When I say sad song, what's the first one that comes to mind?
Sad song. Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. This is the last question and the most important question, and then we'll get into the song to lead us out. Um, this started as a joke on episode one, and now it is a requirement that we ask this. Matt, what is your favorite Little Debbie snack? I know this is a tough, hard-hitting question, but that's what
Oatmeal
we
cream
do.
pie.
Okay. All right.
Is yeah, when I was
Yep.
a kid, man, that was I had to have an oatmeal cream pie in my lunch every day in kindergarten.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, set us up with the song. Was the times all I got?
Times All I Got is the title track of the latest album we've had. Um, I was spending a lot of time when I was writing a lot of this project. I was spending a lot of time in Nashville, uh, engaging with the homeless community through the church that we were going to. They do a Monday night deal where they feed, they have shower trucks and all the stuff. And I would go down there and play. Sometimes I just play acoustic, and I got to interact with some of these guys and hear their stories and like, incredible stories of these guys, especially once you get to know them and they trust you. And I started going there by myself, just randomly through the week. I'd go down and make a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, put them in a backpack, and I just walk around and pass them out and talk to guys. And you know, it's kind of where the song came from. It's like you talk to so many people and you hear their story of like my wife passed away and it put me in this place, or my kid died, or whatever. Like
Hmm.
sometimes it's just self-induced, stupidity. But sometimes they've just hit a dark place and they've got nobody to bring them up out of it, you know? Um, and it's kind of the gist of the song is like, hopefully time fixes what I've got going on. Because right now, like that's all I have is time. Like I've got all the time in the world, and most of those guys and girls do. Like it sucks, man. It sucks. It's a sucky deal for them, and like throwing money at them doesn't fix the problem, but actually getting down and talking to them and engaging with some of those people, like sometimes they just want somebody to listen.
Understood. All right. Appreciate that. All right, here we go. Matt Mason, time's all I got.
Standing here on the sidewalk of a downtown city street, got a little place up in the alley where I lay me to sleep. Don't need your handout if you took me for a beggar to get what I need. I just sell these papers. I'm from Illinois, drove a yellow cab in the city. I met a woman there, fell in love. I thought she was so pretty. Go to a mama's house for Christmas time together. Talked about moving south, cause we neither one like cold weather. I've heard them say heartbreak ain't easy. It's hard to pick up the pieces without winding up along. I've heard them say the time heals what's broken, and I hope they ain't joking, cause now time's all I got. Life dealt her a hand and she had to leave the table. I tried to hold it all together for a while, but was not able. For the first few years I nearly lost my mind. Now if I'm not careful, well, I still do sometimes. I've heard them say heartbreak ain't easy. It's hard to pick up the pieces without winding up along. I've heard them say the time heals what's broken, and I hope they ain't joking, cause now time's all I got. I've heard them say heartbreak ain't easy. It's hard to pick up the pieces without winding up along. I've heard them say the time heals what's broken. I hope they ain't joking, cause now time's all I got. Standing here on the sidewalk of a downtown city street, got a little place up in the alley where I lay me to sleep.
Man, I appreciate you giving that rundown on the song. I've been listening to that song leading up to this, that EP in general. So it makes it has a different feel knowing the little story behind it for
Makes a
sure.
little more sense of it.
And also fans of of his tune E. There's I guess more of a broke down acoustic version of that on the Times All I Got album as well. So
We did like kind of what, when you write a song, you make what's called a work tape, which nowadays you just record on your phone. Like when we started, we had like little recording devices we'd keep in our guitar case.
mhm,
But now you just use voice notes on your phone or whatever you got and record it. And that's kind of it's kind of a work tape version of
mhm.
what that song originally kind of sounded like. And then you can see the original, and then you can see kind of what it grew into. So you get kind of both aspects of it.
All right. Very cool. All right. Make sure y'all go follow Matt on all of his socials, on the YouTube channel. He's trying to, push that with different ideas as far as just cover songs. Some of his favorite songs to cover. He's posting videos about that. Was it every Tuesday? Is that right?
Yep. So
Something to
every
shoot for.
Tuesday we're doing Cover Song Tuesday. So we have that going. I started doing a little thing kind of geared towards men, like
Mm-hmm.
trying to help men become kind of men again. Like it's okay to be a man. Like you don't have to be ashamed to be a man, which a lot of our culture is kind of, I don't want to get into that whole thing, but that's
Understood.
just a place that, women can come to as well, but like guys come to. And it's almost like grandpa advice for men, like stuff my grandpa passed on to me, like just ways to be, that I don't follow every one of them every day, all the time, but like I'm preaching to myself as much as I am anybody else. Like these are things that I know are good, and I think we should all try to do more of them.
I'm sure a lot of that is also people probably not hearing it for the first, or a lot of people probably don't hear it for the first time, but as a reminder.
That's it. And for me, it's a reminder, like,
Okay.
just to kind of process that stuff, like get it together. Usually when I'm doing it, I'm down. We have 6 horses. So like I'm down there every day with them, taking care of the property. And, it gives you time to think, I do a lot of
Mhm.
working with horses and all that. And when I get down there, it's just, I start thinking of these things. I hear my grandpa talking to me, and I'm just like, hey, you know what? This would be pretty cool. People might want to know this. And there's a lot of young guys that don't have, a lot of guys don't have a dad, or they don't have a guy to look up to. So like if I can help out in that way, like great. If it doesn't help, great, but I'm still going to be doing them. So
Fair enough. Yeah. Make sure y'all go follow Matt on all the socials, but especially the YouTube channel. That's where he's trying to, pushing those things for sure.
yep.
Well, and as far as music on the horizon, is there any kind of forecast on that?
We do, man. We have 12 or 13 songs that we have together. Um, I've had them together for a little bit. We just have to get in and actually record them. So that's something that we're going to be doing very, very soon. And yeah, hopefully by the end of summer, fall, maybe we'll
Hmm.
have that project. I'm hoping to have it out if I can get it done and get it back to DJ, who's, he's probably freaking out going, no, I need time. I need time. But yeah, as soon as I get that turned in, it'll start the countdown of when that stuff gets out. But that's going to be a good project. I'm really excited about all the songs that are on it. That we've really taken our time and written, like we've actually written for this particular project, and I've never done that. So it's kind of one cohesive
Okay.
deal. So it'd be the first time we've ever been like, let's write a project and kind of theme it around something. And so we'll see.
Well, y'all keep us in mind whenever you kind of get all that wrapped up and need even if it's just a shorter pod and promote the album, we're here for it. So
Well, I
just
appreciate it, man, very much.
yeah, just keep us in mind. And anytime y'all are dodging potholes through Memphis. And want some barbecue? Just yell at me. We'll grab some barbecue while you're in town. So
Oh, it
just let
sounds
me know.
great.
All right, man.
Sounds great, man.
Thank y'all for tuning in on YouTube and all that stuff. And Matt, I appreciate the time. We'll see you.
Thanks for having me, my friend.
All right.